Okay, so what it is, my fellow gamers, is the X68000 system I've been wanting to get to work for a long ass time, like 10 years. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna go through the basics, like super simple, how to get this working, and I'm just gonna get more and more complicated as it goes. And I know most you millennials out there just want to play with toys and you just want to hit some buttons and shit and smash some fucking pixels together. And you can probably get by with whatever bullshit shill videos they got on the YouTubes right now. But if you want to like play some fucking games and beat some games, we call them games. They're really like puzzles to me. You're solving a puzzle. Unless you're playing people online and then you're playing a game. But that's some shit for another video. But anyways, so I'm going to break down the basics, how to just get it working, like the shills got online. And then I'm going to get into like how to get it working on a CRT. And then I'm going to deal with the fuckery of the keyboard and the controlling the motherfucker. And then we'll get into all the boost shit. And then we'll get into like extra boost shit. If you guys want to listen to extra boost shit, I can go extra. So, okay, getting started here. What it is you go to this website. I'll put links, all that. Look at my links, yada, yada. I got timestamps. Fucking, you know what it is. These dudes, dude, they hooked it up. So, I'll go into, like, why this is so cool later. But, basically, you go into download here. And then you got to understand archive.org, apparently. And then, I don't know, is this illegal? I mean, I don't even know anymore. You go in here, and you can, like, fuck around with, like, 546 files, but I'm not that kind of guy. I'm fucking around with one file, torrent. And then you download the torrent, and you get this. And then you want to 7-zip that bitch. Which my pooter don't like, because my pooter is cursed, man. It fucks with, it's almost like an apple. Like everything I try to do, it doesn't like it. But anyways, I figured it out. You get into 7-zip and you want to hit extract here. Like, cause you got like extracted this bitch or that bitch. Extract here is what you want to hit. You click on that and you get this folder here. And then you got upscaler, which is what most people, I don't know, but fuck, I don't even know what most people are doing these days. I'm an old ass boomer. This is if you have an upscaler, like if you got one of them tanks or you got one of them frame MiSTers. Yeah, I said frame MiSTer. I'm a fucking boomer. You got one of them upscalers, you're going to want to go into this folder. But if you're like me and you're gaming on a fucking CRT from 1991, or some LCD, you go into this where the MiSTer does the upscaling for you. And then you got folders, English. So this is like, you know, if you spreckens the English, you go in here. And the main is all the game, like the main games. And you fucking right click this bitch and you copy it. And then you go over to your MiSTer, which I got over here. And okay, this is my main. They call it the root, which is what my homie used to call his penis. But we're not talking about homie's root right now. We're talking about MiSTer. You just drop it into the main penis of your folder here, like the main penis or root or whatever. That's kind of weird, but that's what you do. And then I already done all that. And you don't see it in here, which I don't understand. It's MiSTer Magic. So that's the main, and then the minor bug games. So like, check it out. You go into here, and these are all the games. You know, you got your Draculas, boys, and then you got a lot of games, guys. These are all games that are supposedly working great, but they don't all work great. Some of them work flawlessly, but then like this bitch over here. Whatever, we'll talk about that bitch later. But then, okay, so you got minor bug games. And there's only a couple, but you can I loaded the minor bug games, so you can copy this folder too, minor bugs, and then just paste it into your penis or your root or whatever you want to call it. copy, and it's over here. Here's my MiSTer SD card. If I can pull it up, and you drop it in here, paste it into the main folder. That's what it wants you to do. Anyways, where are we at? And then, okay, so there are some games in there. Minor bugs. Street Fighter's in here, which I did a playthrough that you'll see on my channel, the Champion Edition. And then they got keyboard games, major bugs. I ain't even fucking with that because some of the main games got bugs. So okay, so they're in the folder, right? So now we're gonna come over and we're just gonna load the folder up into MiSTer. Okay, so we back up in this bitch here, MiSTering. Got my SD card over. So if you come into Pooter, X68000 games, my boys. And there's folders. They got like genre folders. Them games I showed you are in the minor bugs. Champion Edition. We'll talk about that later. There's some fuckery there. And then, oh man, I'm fucking retard. Where's my games at? Okay, we're back. Pooter. And then here's all, dude, look at all these games, guys. And a lot of these games are bangers. We'll talk about that later. And here's the deal, bro. You just hit load, dude. You just fucking hit load and the games work. I know you guys want to play Akumaju. So I just hit the fucking A button, dude. You used to have to like load files into folders, like we'll talk about it later, and you had to put the right like RAM in and all of this shit. And you don't have to do that anymore. You just hit A. Now here's some fuckery with Dracula. Like you won't get any sound unless you come up here to this. Whatever the hell that is. You can hit the number 1 on your keyboard, or you just go up like that. And now we'll get sound if we load some Akumaju Dracula. This game's badass. I've beat it before on the PlayStation. I haven't beat it on the Sharp. It is a little different on the Sharp. And we rocking, guys. You playing games. And I just have my USB controller plugged in. And another thing these homies did on the what is it here? Let me just load them up. What is it called? Neon X68K, dude. These dudes here. Another thing is they just load, like they made the controller work. Like it just works on all these games. So it's most of these games, guys, are just 2 buttons. Like whatever, like jump and attack, or fire and speed up, or whatever. There is a pause button with the keyboard, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, you just rocking with this. Like, here you go. You playing games. I got this weird ass filter or whatever INI put into this so I can play it on a CRT. So it probably looks goofy on here, and like there's probably some shimmering and whatnot. It doesn't have to look like that. So the main menu. Okay, so CRTs, guys. The main way to load CRT. So say you got I'm talking about like component RGB. I don't even know about composite. It's probably similar, Shiggy. But say you got that working right on your MiSTer. A lot of MiSTer games have an option in the game to load a 15 kilohertz signal, a CRT signal. Now that's some fucked up Japanese sharp 15 kilohertz, which don't work on everything. It works on my BVM, but some of it looks a little bit screwy on the top on my consumer grade. But if you got a BVM, you just, whatever INI file you got, you know, that you normally play your games on for your pro monitor, just go into the game. I guess we should do an example here, but I gotta go to my other INI. Okay, so this is my normal INI that I can use like with my BVM or whatever. So you come in here, we'll go to Mad Stalker. This is a game that you can just load 15 kilohertz on. So you just go into the menu and you look up there on the top left. The game has basically Fire 1, Fire 2, and then this game actually you can hit pause on your controller. Like it's just maps and it works perfectly. Now, not all games are like that. Most games aren't, where you can hit pause on your controller. You can hit escape on your keyboard. But yeah, we ain't talking about that right now. We're talking about this. Options. You come into options on these games, CRT mode, and you hit 15 kilohertz. And that's all you got to do. And now you're gaming on your pro monitor, right? So, let me show you what games you can do that with. So we're going to this. I'll throw this link, you know, in the business there, and it shows you like optional video modes right here. If any of these, okay, look, this game loads up Afterburner in 15 kilohertz automatically. So you turn the game on, and it wants to load on your CRT. It'll load on your standard def just fine. And the optional mode on this bitch for Afterburner is 31. And then Ajax here, you hold down and help on the keyboard. Good fucking luck with that. We'll talk about keyboard bullshit later. But this one, 15 kilohertz, Alien Syndrome. You go into the menu like I just showed on Mad Stalker, and you switch it over. Okay, but we're talking about CRTs. So I showed you one way, right? You just, how you'd normally load shit, and you go into the game menu and you load 15 kilohertz. Now, let's talk about the other way I'm doing games. This is my MiSTer penis folder, the root. You go down to your INI. Okay, so I recommend having an alternate INI. And you'll have to watch another video on how to do that because I don't remember how to do it. And I need two. I need my MiSTer main, and I need an alternate to get all the games working on the Sharp that I want to. So one of them is going to have this in it, and it turned out to be my main for whatever reason. And it doesn't matter a whole lot because look, okay, this is my MiSTer INI, right? And I added this X68000 thing to my folder. These options only kick in when you're using the Sharp X68000 core or games or whatever. So you can add this and you don't have to worry about it messing up all your other stuff. Like all your other CRT stuff is going to play like it normally does. This only kicks in when you're playing the Sharp. And these are the settings right here. And I'll put them down. I'll put these down in the link. Like I'll just like cut and paste them into the description. And so what this does is it allows you to like kind of your CRT starts working like it would on an LCD, and you can add filters and stuff. So when you add this to your INI, all the games work except for vertically scrolling game. Like if there's a lot of vertical scrolling, if there's a little bit, it's okay. But like if you're playing a shooter with a lot of vertically scrolling, like Dragon Spirit, it's gonna be fucked. And let me just we'll go back to the MiSTer and I'll show you what I mean by fucked. Now, if you look at Star Wars doesn't look right. Like the S and the T are missing some shiggies. So let's look at my settings here. So so the game's working and it actually will look fine just like this. And I have a playthrough on my channel where I play through it just like this. But we can make it look better. And what you got to do is you go into video processing. See how it has nearest neighbor on? You put it to none. And now the T comes in. So what's happening is when it's on nearest neighbor, you're missing some of the scan lines. Some things just aren't scanning. So we'll put it on again. Where the hell did it go? Video processing. Nearest neighbor. Oh, look, now the appendix, where it says appendix, some of that drops off. And now it comes back in. And it actually looks better on a CRT. Like, dude, I'm using a fucking capture card and putting out to, like, some OSB or DBS or... There's some acronyms involved, what you're seeing and what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? And if you were just playing on your CRT, it looks even better, what I'm trying to get across. But the crux of the biscuit is if you use those INI settings I said, the only thing, there's two things you need to do. You come over here to this horizontal filter and you change it from nearest neighbor and you change it to none. And you don't mess with that other stuff. None of that has helped me. But you also need to come over to audio video. Is that what it is? Yeah. And you got to go to full screen on every game. And you can save it. Like, look how it looks. Like, these games will load in original and it'll look whack. Like you'll put this INI in and then you'll load your game. You're like, oh, shit's whack. And it'll load like that. You just need to go to aspect ratio and put it to full screen. And then come over here to like... save some fuck, man. Sorry guys, like I'm a fuck up, but you go to save settings and then this game will always load in full screen after that, and it'll load without the nearest neighbor on, and you're good to go. So yeah, all of these games are gonna look great like that. All of these games will work with that setting. Except for vertically scrolling games. Oh, and I will say, like, let's just start it here. What, you're not going to start? Oh, because I got it on pause. That's right. Okay, I took it off pause. You still, like, okay, so we took it off nearest neighbor, and it looks better. But still, like, look at those zeros on the bottom left, like where those zeros are. They're still a little bit cut off. So it actually, like, if you have a game that will load in 15 kilohertz without the INIs, like, if you don't have to use this INI, you're better off not. That's why I have two, what do you call it? INI. I have an alternate INI, like one that doesn't have these weird settings into it for the X68000, and then one that does. So if games don't have the in-game option, you can load this and it looks great. It looks great. Let's see here. Audio, video, no, video processing. So look at the 0400 down there, and we'll go, like, you see how it looks worse with the nearest neighbor, and it's almost perfect with this the nearest neighbor turned off, but it ain't perfect, guys. And you ain't gonna notice it in Star Wars or any game, really. You won't even notice it. But let me show you a game where you do notice it. Okay, we're back. So this is a vertically scrolling game, and there's a lot of these games on here that I like to play. Like, there's a lot of vertically scrolling shooters that are badass on the X68000. But when you load these games with that special INI, you get this terrible shimmer. Like, you can see, like, the waves in the grass there, guys. Like, there's no way around this. I've messed around and I've looked on forums, and apparently nobody has found a way around this. You're stuck with this. So, like, look in that tree. Look how bad that is. So, I can't play games like this. I mean, the thing is, like, I could play it, but I have an LCD and I have a projector screen. I'll just go play them on my projector, which you can do. Like, if you play these games without them goofed up INI settings, this shit is gone. So let me just show you that. Okay, so I think we're there with the CRTs. Basically, you try to play the games if you can, if they're able to have this if you can play them in 15 kilohertz, if they're one of these compatible games, you just play them like that. And if they aren't, you have your alternate INI folder, your alternate, INI setting, like what I'm doing here. You come up here and you load your alternate INI with those settings in it, and you're good. I guess at this point it'd be helpful to talk about how the Neon 68K has these settings here. See these X68000 settings? How they got brackets? These settings will only affect the X68000 if you put these in your INI, and it tells you to put these in there. And I put these in mine, and it did not help at all. I think these are only to load in if you have like a 4K upscaler. Other than that, you don't want to put these in your INI. They're not going to help. Okay, so I think we've covered CRTs. What else is there? Okay, now we got to talk about the fucking controls. Okay, so let's come over here. So I went and bought like a 104 key keyboard, like a big ass keyboard. And I went and looked on websites to try to get keyboards to work with the X68000. And I found this thing that like said, oh, this is how the keys map. And they all map. And if you go into the OSD on the X68000, there you can toggle between key mappings. Let's see if this is it. Here's some more like alternate key mappings. I found some documents online. None of that seems to work, guys. Like, let's just Google it right now. We'll go. You go MiSTer X68000 keyboard. Let's see, GitHub. You come over here. And they say that there's this thing on the help OSD. If you go, this doesn't seem to work. None of this seems to work. And the keyboard stuff is like super hit and miss. And that's one of the strengths of this this Neon 68K is they've like already mapped all the buttons for you. Like if you load any of these games on their pack, you go to any of these games in here, all of these games, they're gonna the button 1 and button 2 and the up and down and left and right are all gonna work. But there's a lot more buttons on games on the X68K. Like there's always a pause button is typically escape. Like it's actually worth plugging in your keyboard just so you can get the pause button, guys. Like pause is nice. Like some games like Full Metal Force, the pause button is already mapped to your start button. But on most games it's not like that. You have to hit escape on your keyboard. Now let's go to like Star Wars and let me show you what's going on there. So we got Star Wars loaded. So this game has some extra buttons on it that people don't even know exist. So this game's kind of meant to play with it. Like, let me see. So look at this. These are different views you can get. And you watch people play this online, they don't even do this because they don't even know that those buttons exist. And I'm hitting up. This is down. It lets you see in reverse, which is actually useful in this game. And this is out your left window and your right window. And nobody uses those because they don't even know they exist. Now I tried mapping those to my keypad, my controller, and I can't get it to work. It doesn't seem to work. And alternatively, I can't map the fire buttons to my keyboard. So you can't get complete controls out of this game without using your keyboard to do this, to look all these directions, and to use your pad, your game pad for the fire buttons and the speed up buttons. And that's just, I think that's just the way it is right now. And you can go online, and I looked up all kinds of forums, but I can't find none of that stuff to work. So, keyboard buttons, but look, I can hit pause on the keyboard. Escape is typically pause on all games on your keyboard, which is really helpful. And then you can just start hitting buttons on your keyboard and see what does what. You know, F12 is always your menu as usual. I can move up and down on my keyboard with the up and down on the numbers like 2 and 8 and 4 and 6. But, yeah, I cannot get anything to fire. And you can go in here to button key remap. And this works. Button key remap will show that right now with a Street Fighter, how it works. But it doesn't seem to work on Star Wars. So, like, the button key remap is kind of how you can put keyboard buttons onto your pad or put pad buttons onto your keyboard. Maybe you guys can get it to work. I cannot for Star Wars, but I'll show you how I got it to work for Street Fighter Champion Edition. So apparently what you're going to need to do is hit your pad first, and then you hit your keyboard second. And I fucked it up again. I always fuck this up. So let's see if this works. Yeah, we're rocking. Yeah, so that's what you do. You hit your keypad first, and then you hit your keyboard second. And you got to do all the buttons. Or if you miss any buttons, you're going to have problems. Oh, looks like I missed one. But yeah, that's what you do. Wow, there's some serious input lag. Okay, so what else to say about that? Oh, hey, so if you mess up your keypad inputs, right? Like you go in here and you fucked up. You go to keypad remap and you just start just fucking shit up. I'm just hitting random shit. If you do that, like I just did, things aren't gonna work. So yeah, now I'm missing buttons. If you're playing a shooter, it's just not gonna work. Let me show you how to unfuck yourself. You get your MiSTer SD card out, you put it in your pooter, and you come over here to config. And we go to X68000. Oh no, that's not what we do. Is that what we do? Yeah, you go to config. No, you go to inputs. You go to the inputs folder. And I swear, like every couple of months or years, like MiSTer changes how these folders interact. So you're just going to have to, like, you know, if you're watching this in 2045, bro, like, I don't know, dude, like you probably have to do something different. But anyways, you go to inputs right now in 2025 and you find your Shiggy X68000 Champion Edition. And you just delete all of these. And once you delete all these, it'll be back to stock. Street Fighter Champion. Permanently delete. Yep, we're going to delete all those. And now it'll just be back to stock. So that's what it is. But the last thing I want to talk about is just weird random goofery specific to games. And a good resource for that is this right here. This let me pull it up. This document here that I have in the description of my video. And it has this notes section, and there's just, weird random goofery to certain games. Like for Akumaju, it says to hold the XF1 and the G key to enable GM music. I tried that. The XF1 key on the X68K keyboard corresponds to the Windows key on an American keyboard. And I tried this. It doesn't seem to do anything. And I've come to the conclusion with this core that a lot of stuff just doesn't work. Like on the Star Wars core, like we talked about earlier, you just can't get all the buttons mapped to either your gamepad or the keyboard. You need both. There's just some stuff that doesn't work. So I don't mess with things too much if they're not working. So that one doesn't work. With Star Wars here, where did it go? Star Wars Attack on the Death Star. It says it runs better at 16 megahertz. Now what that's about is the turbo. If you go into Star Wars in the menu, we got the game loaded here, Star Wars on the MiSTer. And CPU speed. It says it runs better at 16 megahertz on that document. So that corresponds to enabling this turbo feature. Now, this does make the game run better. Let me see if I can get the game started here. Hopefully it doesn't crash. This game does crash, and running it at turbo is something that I have noticed tends to make this game crash. But the game runs way better at 16 megahertz. It has like a very slow frame rate if you run it at regular speed. So now we're on 16 megahertz. Let's change it to normal. Let's see can you guys notice how choppy it is, how the frame rate's dropping. But putting it on turbo does tend to make this game crash. I've developed superstitions about what makes this game crash. The main one that I'm superstitious about is dual output. If I'm outputting to my CRT as well as outputting to my to an LCD or to my projector, it tends to crash most of the time. Whereas if I just single output and run this on normal, it tends to not crash at all once in a while, and it tends to crash at the very end. And during cutscenes is another spot where this game tends to hang up. So when I'm playing this game for a playthrough, I'll come in here and put it at normal speed through the cutscenes, and then put it at turbo, when I'm playing the game. And at the very end, there's a final cutscene where the game always seems to crash. And I've noticed if I toggle from normal to turbo while it's crashing, it tends to unfuck itself, or whatever you want to call it. It'll be crashing and paused and hung up, and then it'll push through. Yeah, what else is there to say? We talked about how some games just have random issues. So whatever game you're playing, I'd advise you to come over here and see what it says. And there's things that aren't mentioned in the comments, like when you play Aku Maju, you have to select that top option, and it's all in Japanese. So how would you know that? If you don't select the top option on Aku Maju, you won't hear sound. You'll get sound effects but no music. So it doesn't say that. I don't know what's going on there. I guess I would like to comment on what is cool about this Neon 68K. So basically, what this does is it simplified a lot of things for you. It used to be that when you were playing X68K games, you had to go in. So FD means floppy disk, and you had to load a floppy disk here and a floppy disk here. And sometimes you had to like swap between them, like I guess you would just click on it, or maybe you would hit reset. Some games had to load in here for hard disk, and some games needed specific RAM, and there was like a funky way you had to do that. There was a lot of work going into getting just games to work. Whereas now, if you want a game to work, you just come over here to core and you just click on it for the most part. And there's some goofing around the edges like I've tried to show in this video, but to me it's worth it. Like a lot of games like Cotton just works. You fire it up, it even just works on your CRT. Same thing with Mad Stalker, it just works even on your CRT, and that game has the pause button enabled. I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can map the escape key. If you go in here to button key remap, you can map the escape key to your pad on most games. Sometimes it doesn't work, but it usually does. But what I was trying to say is some games just work perfect, and there's awesome games on here, and I'm really fired up to play the X68K. It seems like a system that was made by serious gamers for serious gamers. A lot of the games are just very well fine-tuned. The difficulty comes from clever level design rather than just tanky enemies, and I'm just fired to play games. I got 3 playthroughs I'm uploading to my channel. If they're not on there already, they'll be there soon. And go out there and beat you some X68K games, guys.